Okay, we're going to review quiz 3, proving triangles are congruent. So we have 5 triangle congruence theorems that we're mainly going to use, and a little bit of intuition as well. The first question says, what other information is needed in order to prove that triangles are congruent using the side angle side, which is that SAS. SAS means side angle side congruence postulate. So we need a side, an angle in between, and then another side. Looking at our picture, we have triangle AXY with a line going from A to M. We know that XM is congruent to MY. How do we know that? We have these lines here that indicates this length is the same as this length. So we already have one side that we know of are congruent. XM is congruent to MY. And this is a side. We now need to prove an angle. And then we need another side. Uh-oh. So what else can we deduce just from the picture? Can we deduce that any of these angles are congruent? No, we cannot. There's no indication that this, or this angle have any type of relationship to one another. So let's see if we can find any other additional sides. There's no indication that AX is congruent to XY. But we do know that this AM is congruent to something. How about segment AM is congruent to segment AM. Why is that true? Reflexive property. So if this length of side is congruent to itself, what's left? So the question is asking us, what other information is needed in order to prove triangle congruence using side angle side? Well, we need to know this angle here. If we knew an angle, we would be able to prove that these triangles are congruent. So in order to solve this, the first thing I do was identify what I do know, and then I talk about what I need. Side angle side. The second figure is a kite. This says ABCD is a kite. Prove that angle A is congruent to angle C. Well, it is asking us to prove that this angle is congruent to that angle. Oh, well, let's start with what we know. And in fact, let's put this in a different color. We're trying to prove that angle A and C are congruent. Well, we do know that this is a kite, which a kite has certain properties. Segment AB is congruent to segment BC. How do I know that? It's given. AB is congruent to BC because it's given. Well, we also know that segment AD is congruent to segment CD. How do I know? It's given. What else do I know? Hey, I know that this side is congruent to itself. BD is congruent to BD because of reflexive property. Well, that's side, side, side. That means that I have proven that triangle ABD is congruent to triangle CBD. And if this triangle ABD is congruent to CBD, that means the corresponding angles are also congruent. And because this angle A corresponds with angle C, angle A is congruent to angle C because of CPCTC. Corresponding angles of congruent triangles are congruent. That's a little bit of a tongue twister. This question says, if we are proving the triangles are congruent using angle, side, angle, for the figure below, what additional information is needed other than angle MLN is congruent to angle NOP? So let's write down my given. I know that MLN, which means this angle here, is congruent to NOP, which means this angle here. This is congruent to this. What other information do I need in order to prove angle, side, angle? So we're looking for an angle, a side, and an angle. Well, we already know that angle MLN is congruent to angle NOP because it is given. What else do we know just by looking at this picture? Oh, look at there. Look at angle N. I know that angle LNM is congruent to angle ONP. How do I know that? Vertical angles are congruent. So that's kind of like something that is obviously known that we already can hypothesize with, because we know that angle LNM is congruent to angle ONP because they are vertical angles. So it's not something I need to prove or need to know because it's obvious. What do I need to know in order to prove angle, side, angle? Well, I need to know the length of this side. This is what I need to know. So in order to prove angle, side, angle, angle, side, angle, I need to know the purple. I need to know if segment LN is congruent to segment NO. Wow, this is really complicated. There are two overlapping triangles, triangle ABC and triangle DBE. Given that segment DB is congruent to BC, what else do we need to know in order to prove these triangles congruent using side, angle, side? So let's write what we know. We need to prove side and angle and a side. I'm going to be able to spell it. Well, let's write our given. We know that BD is congruent to BC. What else do we know? Oh, we know that angle B is the vertex or central angle of that, is the angle that they share in each triangle. So we know that angle B, what is that? ABC is congruent to angle DBE because of reflexive property. Angle B is equal to itself. Well, what else do we need to know? Well, this is the base of this triangle. Oh, I see. Looking here, this just tells me this length and this length is congruent. We need to know about this length here and this length here because that's not the full side of either triangle. So we need to know if DA is congruent to CE. We need to know if DA is congruent to CE. Because that's not even the full side of that triangle. What else is needed to prove hypotenuse leg? The HL means hypotenuse leg with these two right angles. Okay, so we know that here's the hypotenuse of this triangle. How do I know that? It's right across from this right angle. Here's the hypotenuse for this triangle. How do I know that? It's right across from that right angle. And I'm only proving hypotenuse leg. I already know what the hypotenuse is. I know that hypotenuse AC is congruent to hypotenuse EC because it's given. What else do I need to know? Well, we're missing the leg. We don't know if the legs are equal. We don't know if this leg is equal to this leg. There's no indication. We don't know if this leg is equal to this leg. There's no indication. So we need to know if a leg is equal to itself, equal to another, excuse me. Is segment AB congruent to segment ED? We don't know. Is segment BC congruent to segment CD? We don't know.